The majority of funding that we have had has come from personal resources. And then really, once we became a functioning business, it became a question of earn it and reinvest it into the business.
I don't think we went out looking for an external investment of any sort. We had collected like a few items over the years, but we still had so many things that we didn't have. And what we used, I think, to start out and bag our first events was just the previous things that we had done for the family. And we just managed to convince just that one client to come through and, trust you with their event and show them what you can actually do.
There's that million-dollar question that almost every budding entrepreneur has asked themselves at one point or another. Should I launch my business with what I have or wait until I secure external funding? The two entrepreneurs we just heard chose to launch their businesses with whatever finances were available, rather than wait for investors. So how did that work out for them? Let's find out. Welcome to Season 2 of the Bongo Hive podcast, brought to you by Bongo Hive in partnership with the International Trade Center's Fast Track Tech Africa initiative. I'm your host, Maretta Lindunda. This season was recorded during the time of COVID, and in all cases, care was taken to social distance or record the show remotely. Today's episode is about bootstrapping, a process of building a self-sustaining business using limited resources or money. With bootstrapping, the enterprise is usually funded by personal savings and profits that are reinvested into the business. To understand more about bootstrapping, we will be speaking to entrepreneurs Sara Drawwater, Pearl Michello, and Serena Jhala, as well as consultant Asha Mweru. Our first guest is Sara Drawwater from The Best of Zambia, which is a platform for Zambian businesses to market themselves online and share Zambia with the rest of the world. They took a unique journey to build themselves from scratch. This is an experience that can make or break a business. Sara gave us insight on how they grew The Best of Zambia from a concept to an actual business.
At the time, my family were living in the UK. We had moved from Zambia in 1999, and that was really driven by family needs. So my mom wanted to be here because her parents were getting older and they needed more support. But around that time, I'm sure it was my dad going back to Zambia to see his father, and he was kind of used to, looking for things online here. And I remember, I think he was with his sisters who live in America, or he was with some family members there, and they were looking for a restaurant to go and eat. And he looked online and he was a bit taken aback with how little information was available. Like, he couldn't just research somewhere to go at that time. Obviously, things are a lot better now, but that was the situation back then. And then when he came back to the UK, he was like, he had this bee in his bonnet about wanting us to put more information online about Zambian businesses. And it kind of correlated because at the time I had just graduated from university and I was doing marketing here. I had roughly just about set up my own company here, and I was working with my parents as well, focused on graphic design and slowly going into building websites because that's what people wanted.
Did you have any external investments, or did you use your personal savings to bootstrap?
The majority of funding that we have had has come from personal resources. Apart from the relatively low value support that we've had from the likes of UK trade and investment that have been largely match funded, they've helped with various training programs. They've helped with some technology that we needed, some laptops and things like that. But the majority of it has been ourselves. And then really, once we became a functioning business, it became a question of earn it and reinvest it into the business. Literally, the path has been from the point where we were sending money to start up the business and grow the business to the point where we were breaking even. And so it's like, at least we're covering our costs. And then ever so slowly again, brick by brick, to the point where we started to become a profitable business.
As we covered in the previous season, raising capital for a business can be challenging. Sara shared some of the challenges that they faced.
It would have been a lot easier if we had had the opportunity for more funding. I think we could have achieved what we wanted to achieve faster. But we just didn't have those opportunities. And it has been quite tricky being UK based. So a lot of UK sort of normal business loan opportunities didn't apply for us because we were seen to be investing in a developing country, and that very quickly kind of knocks you off the list. And I think we just haven't been in the know sometimes. I think there are opportunities for startup businesses now and things like that. But at that time, Bongo Hive didn't exist. You know, you guys now are one of the main sort of, in my opinion, places that if I was starting a business now, I would come to Bongo Hive and say, you know what, this is my idea. I know you guys have programs to help businesses go through the process to build ideas into something. And I know that if there are opportunities for funding, you promote them and things like that. But yeah, as I say, at that time, we just didn't have that on the finance side.
Other than raising finances, running a business can have many other challenges. Here are a few that the Best of Zambia faced.
One of the biggest challenges has been cash flow management. That has been extremely difficult, to the point where there's probably been quite a few times where we have to like seriously think about how we're going to go through the next few months. I think we're driven a little bit more by a passion, not just the finances of the business. And the cash flow management, ideally, would have liked to have been in a position where, you know, you have like 3 months in the bank to cover costs and things like that. But that's almost a luxury sometimes when you're building a business. So you have to like follow your passion, and we did. And I think one of the other big challenges was working part-time whilst growing a business. So we weren't in a position to work full-time on the business from the get-go. As I said, I had a UK company and I was freelancing and I've done social media training, you know, various marketing and a lot of content writing and content management for businesses. And we've had to do that. And then Luke was building websites for UK companies and some Zambian companies as well, actually. And we were doing this at the same time, where you'd better off spending time in the what could be the bigger business, but you've also got to survive on a day-to-day basis. So you're juggling the two responsibilities. So in fact, I only started working full-time on the Best of Zambia I say November 2016, but that's when my son was born. But really, I was on maternity leave for a good sort of 6 to 12 months, but I was still, you know, doing what I could where I could. And it was really the birth of my son that kind of gave me the situation where I really jumped from UK clients to fully working on the bestofzambia.com, because it kind of gave me the flexibility that I needed to be a working mom. Whereas before I was very much like doing social media training, and it's like I have to be at a certain place.
Building a business through bootstrapping can be a long process for many entrepreneurs, but the end results can be very rewarding. Sara shares what the journey was like for them.
It's taken us a long time to get here, too long, and that's been a difficulty in its own. It's been quite difficult to maintain momentum and excitement in the market when you know where you want to go, you just haven't got the resources to do it. So things take time, and it's quite a challenging way to keep this positive spirit in your team, to keep your clients excited about what you're doing. And so you're constantly having to communicate, you know, very as effectively as possible as you can, and just keep going, even though things aren't perfect. You know, it's like you're so fully aware of your faults and the things that you want your business to do, and it's painful because you haven't necessarily got the resources to fix those things. But I'd just like to encourage everybody to just, if you've got a strong idea and you've done the research and the market is right, it might take you longer, but bootstrapping may well get you there, because we see a light, really. We see that we're coming to a point where we've got something that we can scale quite well.
Looking at where you've come from via bootstrapping, where do you see the best of Zambia in the near future?
Oh, that's a good question. So we are in a point of transition, or should I say, adapting to the needs of the market. So we've gone from being a online business directory that just helps connect our clients with their potential customers to moving into the e-commerce space.
Like the best of Zambia, Pearl and Serena discovered that raising finances for a startup can be quite challenging. In this segment, they walk us through the journey they took setting up their business, Pink Champagne Event Planners. We found out what drew them to the event planning business.
Well, I think the interest in the event planning industry came from having a family that just loves to host and loves to party and loves to just do our own events. So we would end up planning all the family weddings, would end up doing all the runarounds for family parties, kids parties, whatever event was coming up, we would be the ones at the forefront of running it. So it's one of those things that just started out as you're doing it for the family, you're doing it for your friends. And we thought, okay, why not turn this into a business? It's actually something that we enjoy. It's something that we like doing. It's something that we felt we were good at and we could get better at. So why not turn it into a business and do something and make money out of it?
For Pink Champagne, they didn't start out with personal loans or external investment. So how did they grow their business?
We had collected a few items over the years. We had collected a few plates, we had collected a few kids' party stuff, just stuff that we would use for the family events. But we still had so many things that we didn't have. And what we used, I think, to start out and bag our first events was just the previous things that we had done for the family. So the pictures that we would have taken and all of that. And we just managed to convince just that one client to come through and, trust you with their event and show them what you can actually do.
Using personal savings might sort of blur the line between business and entrepreneur, and Pearl shares more about the realities of making these financial sacrifices.
I think it's actually one of those things that you keep on doing, especially in the first, I think maybe our first 3 years of the business. We had to make that sacrifice. Whatever little money that you have, you find that, yes, you bag this corporate and they're not going to pay you the full amount. And you're thinking, fine, I can't go around asking everyone for money to do this event. So you have to take that risk if it's something that you want to grow. And I think for the two of us, it was a lot easier because we kind of just understood from the beginning that, we're doing this together. No one is going to come in for us and give us that money. So you just need to take out your money. And I think you need to just sort of reach that understanding and realize that, I'm making this sacrifice for a certain reason. And I'm making this sacrifice for my business. I want my business to grow and this is where I want it to go.
Bootstrapping is not only about using one's personal resources. It might also involve investment from family and friends, and Pink Champagne was no stranger to that.
My mom was very, very supportive in the beginning, and she knew that, these guys are just starting out. So there would be those trips where she's going for a work trip, and she'd be like, girls, you guys can tag along. I'll help you guys out with accommodation, and you guys just figure out what you're going to buy and how you're buying it. But she was very supportive, the things that she had collected over the years for family weddings and all of that, she was like, fine, you guys can use them. She allowed us to use her property as a venue as well. So she was very, very supportive from the beginning.
How long did it take for your business to be independent of your personal financial investment?
I think it had gotten to that point where it was doing its own thing. It was managing itself. It was running itself. It was making its own money to sustain itself. It took us like maybe 3 years, like I said, 3 years where you're saying, okay, whatever money that we're bringing in is for investment. And once you've made those investments, I think the things that you've invested in start to bring back their own money. But then COVID happened. So for that period, I think from March till about June, July, it was like we're right back to square one. The business is not bringing in as much money. It's not bringing in any money. In fact, for like a good 2 months, we weren't doing any events at all. And you're thinking, okay, how am I going to sustain? We still had workers to pay. We still had bills to pay. And you're thinking, okay, there's no Pink Champagne right now. There's no business coming in from Pink Champagne. All the money that was in Pink Champagne has gone to paying maybe the first 2 months of bills. What happens after that? So we ended up having to go back now. Okay, both of us need to make the sacrifice. We need to take our own personal finances to sustain these guys. We need to make sure that there's some sort of continuity. So I think it was both half and half. We were very hopeful, and I don't think we realized that it would take maybe 3 years until we're making the money. I think you're thinking, okay, the first year I'll make my money, buy my stuff, but you don't realize it because even up to now, we still have to, the events industry is constantly changing. The styles are changing. You constantly have to keep putting money back into the business. You don't get to a point where you're like, okay, I've invested enough, I'm done. You have to keep maintaining your stuff. You have to keep buying new stuff. So I think it doesn't really end, but I think you get to a point where it's sort of sustainable. The business is giving you money and it's able to also invest in itself.
Were you working full-time for the business from inception, or were you engaged in other ventures?
I think I had just moved back here and I just had a small baby, so I wasn't working. We're just doing like random events, maybe like one event a month or something. And there, Serena was working. So I'll throw it to her when I'm done. So it was one of those where she could sustain her job. She could actually go to work because it's like one event, 2 events every month. And I could do the running around. And then I think as the business's reputation grew, we were getting more and more busy. And you're thinking, okay, there's 2 events this weekend and I'm not able, I've got a small baby. How am I going to do all the runarounds by myself? And how am I going to do 2 events on one day on my own? We didn't have any full-time staff. We just used to call in people, like when you've got an event, hey, come and help us out here. So for me, I was full-time. Serena was working.
Yeah, so I was working like for the first 3 years of the actual business. And it got to that point, as Pearl says, that she couldn't manage it on her own. We used to call in like everybody for support. Mom, everyone, I tell you. So yeah, it just got to that point where I had to make the decision. And she was just like, oh no, it's either now or never. So yeah, basically I quit my job. I resigned. And you know what? I haven't looked back. I have not looked back since. I'd rather this than what it was. So I would have given up sooner, I think, if I had known.
From your personal experience, would you encourage other entrepreneurs to use their savings to bootstrap?
Definitely. I think it also gives you the sense of ownership. You work a lot harder when you know that, okay, I've put in everything that I've worked for. I've put in my money. I've put in so much into this business. I need to make sure that it grows. So I would definitely encourage you to put in your own money. As long as you know how to manage it, you manage it well, you make sure that you're running the business the way it should be run, and you're working to your full potential.
Given the chance to do it all over again, would Pearl and Serena choose to use their personal savings, or would they seek funding from the get-go?
I would definitely use our own financing. If the opportunity had to come where, yes, you're getting a grant or some sort of seed funding, we would take it. But I think the lessons that we've learned from actually bootstrapping from the beginning have actually helped us build the business to where we are right now. It's given us that sense of ownership where you know that, okay, this is my baby. I need to do this like this. I need to take these sacrifices. If it fails, it's on me. This is me losing out. So I would definitely do it again.
No, I definitely would do it again. I would definitely use my own finances, invest in the business and watch it grow. You know, it gives you a sense of accomplishment, I think, so to speak. You know what I mean? To watch it actually thrive on what you've put in yourselves. So yeah, definitely would.
Asha Mweru is co-founder of WomenWork, an organization that works with women entrepreneurs in Kenya. she has also assisted numerous startups seeking investment opportunities. She gave us a rounded insight into the world of bootstrapping. The first question we asked her was, is it possible for any kind of business to secure external funding?
So any business can get funding. That right now there's a program in Kenya that's giving small and medium enterprises interest-free loans as well. And these are loans that are as small as $300. So any business can get funding. It is the first question that you should ask yourself is, what kind of funding do I need and what for? Right. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
So would you recommend entrepreneurs to start with what they have and grow over time?
Yes, I would absolutely encourage everybody to do that. And I didn't just say it, it's known from other large companies and people who built really, really big companies. Start with what you have. But most importantly, what I tell people is that test your idea. And I shy away from saying build your idea, but test it rigorously. Put it in front of as many people as you possibly can and ask them, what do you think of this? Yeah. How much would you pay for this? Why would you pay for that? Right. And I know there's a lot of skepticism around what if somebody copies my idea? So I think there is a little bit of truth there. I think there's more value in getting feedback as early as possible and then starting to build the right thing. You also don't want to waste money on building the wrong idea. So test first and then build.
Naturally, we can't talk about bootstrapping without mentioning angel investors. These are individuals who provide financial backing to entrepreneurs to help them get their business off the ground. As we heard from our other two guests, such investors may come in the form of friends or relatives. Sometimes, angel investors will ask for equity in the business in exchange for their investment. But is it a really good idea to mix friendship or family with business? We tapped into Asha's knowledge bank from her experience working with different startups and asked her what she thought about angel investors. This is what she had to say.
So essentially, bootstrapping is getting money or just achieving things with as little as you have, or really just kind of getting very flexible capital for your business. So if we're talking about angel investment, very flexible terms, and you need to know what flexible terms is for your business, so because it varies, I would say it is super important to kind of get that from your family and friends, and don't be shy about it. As just based on my experience, it is tremendously difficult to fundraise. However, it is tremendously beneficial to get the capital that you need. So the pros outweigh the cons significantly. So go to your family, go to your friends. An interesting thing that I saw recently is cutting your ticket sizes into chunks that are more acceptable. And what do I mean by this? I mean, you want to raise, say, about $8,000, right? Why don't you just cut it down to about $1,000 chunks? And if you approach somebody and said, hey, I'm running a business, I'm looking for $1,000 out of $8,000. You see, that sounds kind of more palatable than saying I'm looking for $8,000. And somebody would be like, whoa, right? So cut it down into smaller chunks and approach your family and friends. And also not just family and friends, but there are other accelerators that would probably put you on the map with, investors who would take that risk at the early set.
After everything we've heard about bootstrapping so far, what then can we say are the benefits and limitations of bootstrapping?
You'll get to really test your idea. So by the time you present this to a institutional investor, you're almost certain that your idea works. You're starting to build on it. You've confirmed market fit, and you're ready. So what that means as well is that you can negotiate for a better price when it comes to investment. You can negotiate better terms, right? So they're still going to be taking a risk, but it's not going to be as massive. Another thing is that you've also tested yourself. Do I really want to be an entrepreneur? Because it's a tough calling. You've tested the market. You kind of just want to hit the ground running. As a pro, you don't get money, and then you start thinking, where should I spend this money on? You know exactly where you should spend your money on, and it's kind of just an upward trajectory. That's kind of the pro of bootstrapping. The second bit is on cons is bootstrapping will also mean that you kind of have to go slightly slower. Actually, not slightly. For some business, significantly slower. For others, say a tech company, e-commerce, slightly slower. You can't quite afford everything that you need. So you need to make do with what you have, or you need to produce to your capacity. So that's the largest, I would say. A good mentor of mine once said he was an entrepreneur. It didn't work out. He went ahead and, just started building really, really great products at Google. And he said, and I asked him, what is the one thing you would have done differently? And he said, I would have hired really, really strong people earlier on with the money that I had that I'd gotten from investors, right? So the con there is that if you don't have the right people sometimes and the right resources to pay them, then you kind of are slow because you're not able to build as quickly, as efficiently, as excellently as you would. So that's a pro. That's a con, I think, you'd end up having. But I would say still, once you have an idea, test it. Don't just say, listen, I can't build anything because I don't have money. Go ahead and test it. Once you confirm it, and while you're testing it, you're starting to confirm if this is definitely investable or not. And then you can now start thinking about, okay, I kind of have market fit. Let me go ahead and either bootstrap or look for external funding.
And there we have it, bootstrapping your business from scratch. To echo some of the thoughts from our guests today, bootstrapping helps entrepreneurs to establish a firm foundation for their businesses. It helps them build resilience, and despite the limitations, it also allows entrepreneurs to test the market and discover the strengths and weaknesses of their business plans before they become fully fledged businesses. Not such a bad idea to start with what you have and then grow over time, right? Join us again next week as we discuss business continuity, an entrepreneur's journey through a pandemic. This has been the Bongo Hive podcast, brought to you in partnership with the ITC's Fast Track Tech Africa initiative. Visit www.bongohive.co.zm/podcast to subscribe and listen to more episodes, which are available on all major podcasting platforms.